All right, I promise. I know everybody wants to shoot out of here, so. Okay, great. I just got some bullet points here that I will discuss a little bit about. I'm originally from New York. From Yonkers, New York. Anybody know Yonkers? Yeah. It's not too far. Yeah, so I'm from Yonkers, New York. I was born in Puerto Rico, too. So born in Puerto Rico, yes. And actually raised in Manhattan on Dyckman Street, if anybody knows where that is. Yes, I was raised on Dyckman Street, and then we moved on to Yonkers, New York. And in 2004, I moved to Cleveland. So the reason why I'm telling you that is I'm coming to you all the way from Cleveland. Just got off the Lincoln Tunnel and straight here. And we also got Abbas Bazi, which is an activist in Dearborn, all the way from Dearborn, who's here with us tonight. And we got Faiza Hamid from Boston. Yeah. So we got quite a variety here tonight with us. And most of you here are from New York, right? Anybody from Connecticut, New Jersey? Okay, Philadelphia. There you go. See, this is what solidarity is all about. Al-Auda was founded in the year 2000. Sarah Flounders was with us right from the beginning. As a matter of fact, most of our work was born at the International Action Center, as I was telling Abbas earlier about the IAC. It was a pleasure. I mean, this really brings back a lot of memories. I went to one of the early rallies for Mumia Abu Jamal with the International Action Center. So I remember that. It was quite an experience. Before that rally, I had no clue about Mumia Abu Jamal. And this is the thing about activism. This is the thing that's great, obviously, to educate, because that's how you learn. I had no clue until we worked with the International Action Center about Mumia Abu Jamal and his continued incarceration till today, obviously. So that's how we educate one another, and that's how we educate on Palestine, right? Black Lives Matter. We worked on the Vieques support campaign, remember, with Puerto Rico. So, and that was something special for me, being born there. So I always call it the double P, Puerto Rico and Palestine. So they call it the double trouble sometimes too. But I just want to thank you all, especially Sarah, for inviting me to come today, and appreciate everybody here today. And Abbas and Faiza, thank you for coming from way out in Dearborn and Boston. It's a pleasure to have you guys. They were also at our rally this past March 20th, which was the national rally. Some of you were here? Yeah. All right, March 20th. Yes, Bill and Joe. So it's a pleasure to see the faces. You see them on Facebook. I haven't seen Sarah for so many years, so this really brings back memories, and it's heartwarming. So moving on, thank you for that great introductory. I mean, I was like, was that really me? But I appreciate it so much. So I am from the village of Deir Yassin, which is 3 miles west of Jerusalem. When I tell this, before I was banned, I'm banned from going into Palestine, by the way, because of my activism. Thank you. It is an honor. Yes, absolutely. So I always mention that because they cannot believe the precision of the Palestinian people, because the lady that was talking to me, I forget where she was from, somewhere in Europe, but she was interviewing me, and I told her I should be interviewing you. This is my land. So she's talking to me, and her main thing was, why did I say, oh, you know, it's 3 miles west of Jerusalem? I said, yes, of course, it's our ancestral land. So they need to know that, and they fear that. And this is why we need to educate people and teach our kids and our great-grandkids if we have to, because that's what it's about. Palestinian solidarity to keep the fight alive. Deir Yassin was ethnically cleansed on April 9th, 1948. My father was a survivor of that massacre, and so was my grandmother and my grandfather, so his parents, and 1 uncle and 5 aunts, okay, who actually survived that massacre. The most popular number is 254 Palestinians that were massacred. It was about 120 that were confirmed, but obviously, as you know, people from outside and things like that weren't accounted for, so the most popular number was approximately 254 people. Now, mind you, that is 254 people out of about 700 to 800 people. So per capita, it was more catastrophic than September 11 attacks. Per capita, we're talking about. So it is not the only massacre that happened in Palestine. It wasn't the last, but it was diffused, if you will. It was the massacre of all massacres, because as soon as people heard about Deir Yassin, they were scared, and that was the entire point of that massacre, is to instill fear in the Palestinian people. And the neighboring villages, like Ain Karim, was a neighboring village to Deir Yassin. It is where, in the Bible, they say St. John the Baptist was born, right next to Deir Yassin. And people from there also fled. And it carried out all the way from Haifa, Jaffa. Most of the Palestinian people left out of fear. They went into neighboring Lebanon, which is Abbas's village in the south. They fled to Jordan. They fled to Syria, where they're still continuing to be persecuted today. And no matter who you blame regarding Syria, the Israeli occupation of Palestine is first and foremost to be blamed, because the Palestinians have a right to return. Okay. So the reason why we always focus on where we are from as Palestinians, I am a Palestinian refugee, and I'm proud of that status. Wherever I go, I tell people I'm a Palestinian refugee. I was born in Puerto Rico, which is a colony, also colonized, right, by the United States, but I still say I'm Palestinian, okay, because that's something that we need to instill in our children, right, because of our parents. This is the promise that we were entrusted with from our parents before they died. Both my parents passed away. And growing up Palestinian, you're constantly hearing about these stories, constantly hearing. My mother, the second part of the Nakba, the Palestinian catastrophe was in two parts, right? 1948, and then later in 67, which was called the Naksa. There's the Nakba in 1948, and then in 67, it was called the Naksa, which is basically the second part of the catastrophe where they completely took control of Palestine. The stories from my mother walking from the Jericho refugee camp, walking on foot all the way into Amman, Jordan. Okay, it took them a couple of days. You know, there's hills, there's this, there's that. It's not just flat land. So over the course of a few days till they got there, these are stories that we hear every single day. And she had 7 children with her. They were all children. Yeah, so can you imagine that? These are the stories that we keep hearing our entire lives, and this is something that we carry out with us. This is not something that we can just normalize, you know, or just completely forget. Or we have today some popular activists who just want to be famous on TV, you know, unfortunately, and they want to recognize the state of Israel. You know, guess what? Recognizing the state of Israel is Zionism. That's what it's based upon. And we will never give them that recognition. So, going on to my next bullet point here, the formation of Al-Auda. Before Al-Auda was formed, I was an ADC activist. I mean, Abbas Bazi is smiling because we know these are kind of like the mainstream Arabs, if you will, or some people call them house Arabs. But the point is, I see some people want to laugh. It's okay, it's fine. See, these are mainstream groups, right? Like you have the mainstream media, like CNN, right? MSNBC. So we also have our mainstream, you know, Arab groups, civil rights, whatever you want to call them. And they do fine work, but up to a limitation. So I was part of ADC. I was part of AAI, you know, the Arab American Institute. So there's no word Palestine in there. And they really didn't care about Palestine. And if they did, it was limited. It was to what the government standards were, right? To what was acceptable in activism back then. You can talk about Palestine, you can say occupation, right? Or we stand with the Palestinian people. And this was early on. Before, like today, you know, we have Jews against the occupation, right? We have all these groups today that vehemently condemn Israel. It took a lot of work. So we formed Al-Auda to create this process of people understanding that the fundamental right of the Palestinian people that the world needs to understand and focus on is the right of return. Okay, it's for the Palestinian refugees. Today, we have over 7.2 million refugees scattered around the world. All right, some of them are internally displaced refugees. An internally displaced refugee is basically a Palestinian, let's say, who was run out of Ramallah, right, and they live in Gaza. Or they were from one village and went to another. They're still refugees. They still did not go back to Jerusalem. I'm from Jerusalem, right, West Jerusalem. So if my parents went to Jericho, right, at that time, I still have a right to return to Deir Yassin, to West Jerusalem. And it went on to further than that. We got kicked out twice. So we lived the catastrophe twice. And then, if you want to call it a third time, because we're here in the United States. So some of us were lucky. I mean, I am a refugee. I am privileged. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. Up to a certain extent, we are privileged. We got to admit that. So we utilize that privilege in protesting and promoting Palestine, okay, and educating people. So that is the reason why Al-Awda was formed. Al-Awda in Arabic means the return, for those of you that don't know. And if you know, that's great. But Al-Awda means the return. It literally means the Awda, return. So that is our primary focus. That's why Al-Awda was born. And I know Sarah knows this from a long time ago, but this is the reason why we injected the right of return into mainstream politics, into mainstream activism here in the United States. And today, now we have, like, as soon as you guys said from the river to the sea, that was beautiful because that's our slogan. You know what I mean? Now, before Al-Awda was started, there was no such thing. You wouldn't hear these slogans. You know, if you said you wanted to return to Palestine, even the best of activists, oh, no, we don't want to touch that, man. Are you crazy? That's too much. You know, today it is mainstream. Today it is acceptable. And it is because of you, you know. So continuing on about anti-normalization. Basically, Zionism, in a nutshell, is a supremacist ideology, right? Jewish supremacism, whatever you want to call it, it's supremacism, all right? They want a state for the Jewish people only. They have Jewish-only roads, Jewish-only buses. Okay, these are facts on the ground. These are not stuff that we make up. These are not, you know, we want to throw the Jews, you know, in the sea and all this crap, all right? And about Hamas, which was formed over 40 years after the Israeli occupation of Palestine. I'm sure you guys all know that. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but sometimes it's good. It's good to remind the choir, right? So when you hear the argument of Hamas, you know, do the math, you know? And, you know, on Twitter, I say, do the math stupid to the Zionists. You know what I'm saying? Because Hamas came 40 years after the Israeli occupation. Hezbollah in South Lebanon, right? Came long after they occupied southern Lebanon before they were kicked out. You know what I mean? So these are facts that we need to continually, especially today with the stuff going on in Syria. Okay? We need to remind people, remind activists of what's going on. So that is our anti-normalization efforts. This is something that we continually educate people, because Israel does not have a right to exist as an apartheid state, right? They do not have a right to occupy someone else's land, all right? They don't have the right to terrorize the Palestinian people, besiege Gaza. Joe back there, Joe Catrone, very popular on Twitter, very popular activist, okay? He's lived to 2 catastrophic acts of terrorism in the Gaza Strip, in Gaza, Palestine. And please, I just want to tell people, for the love of God, in reference to anti-normalization, whatever you mention in Palestine, please add Palestine with it. If you say Gaza, say Gaza, Palestine, okay? Ramallah, Palestine, the West Bank of Palestine. Okay, we need to keep injecting that, because they want us to say Ramallah, right? They want us, even on the license plates, you know, it says West Bank. On the cars, it doesn't say. This is deliberate. This is deliberate, and this is what we need to continuously to be aware of and to educate people, because that's what they want. They want you to say West, up from the West Bank. You know, we have a comedian, Palestinian comedian. He always says that. I tell him it's not funny. I don't care if you're joking. You know, say you're from the West Bank of Palestine. You know, he gets up, I'm from the West Bank. It's not funny, you know, because you are participating, you know, in normalizing the Israeli occupation of Palestine. So we need to kind of remember this. And I'm telling you here as a Palestinian, right? You guys are here to support Palestine. So I think that's the way it should be. You need to kind of learn our narrative and teach it out to the world Palestinian style, right? Because we also have another problem where people try to lead our movement, and I know IAC is not that way, okay, because they always gave us a platform, they always gave us a voice. And that's why I love the IAC, and I love groups like the International Action Center, because they let the Palestinian people speak for themselves. And this is what we need to do, this is what we need to be cognizant of, you know. You want the Palestinian narrative. Nobody's saying that you can't get involved, you know, we don't want white people in the movement. That is not true. You know what I'm saying? It is just simple. A black person should lead Black Lives Matter, right? A woman should be leading a feminist movement, right? So it's kind of the same thing with Palestine. So this is something that we always need to kind of remind ourselves of. Okay, yeah, we need to continuously remember not to normalize the Israeli occupation of Palestine, because that's what really That's what we are doing, if we neglect that. Just talk about our national rally that we recently had on March 20, which was the largest rally against AIPAC in U.S. history. All right. It was upwards of 5,000 people. I know it doesn't sound, we've had larger rallies for Palestine. We've had 10, 15, maybe 20,000. Okay. But this was the largest against AIPAC. All right. And you know why? Because it was Palestinian led. It was led by Al-Auda. So people came out, people listened to us, and they came out to Washington, D.C., and we appreciate that. And some of you in this room, Joe, right, Abbas, Faiza, they were there. I know IAC sent a bus, with Al-Auda and others. And this is the thing that we need to continue to do. AIPAC should always be a target of our activism, okay? Especially as Americans, right? Especially as white people, right? Especially as mainstream activists, whatever you want to call them, because they are the funders of Israeli occupation. Instead of funding the occupation of the Palestinian people, you can build Flint, right? Clean the water. You can fix Detroit up, right? There are many states, many cities that they can clean up before they give the money outside. And some people say, well, what about Egypt? They throw that in there. I don't care. It should be primarily here. You shouldn't fund anybody else but here. The jobs here, the unions, right? Postal workers, whatever you want to say.
The money they give to Egypt is to sustain Israel.
Exactly. The money that they give to Egypt is basically sustaining Egypt.
Guarantee Israel's security.
Absolutely. So, AIPAC should always be a target of our activism. And let me tell you, since March 20, these Zionist trolls, anybody here on Twitter or social media? We call them trolls, when they come troll you and they make you in your mentions. They have flooded my mentions since March 20 nonstop. I was just showing Abbas and Faiza. They take my pictures, okay, and they Photoshop them. Like I have a picture with the right of return behind me. They put the Israeli flag behind me. That's how low and disgusting they are. They take my pictures and turn them around. I've been under vicious attacks, and believe me, some sexual content too. So I'm just showing you what Palestinians go through, and not just Palestinians, all activists. This is the price we pay as activists. Absolutely, So their war is atrocious against us. AIPAC has felt the heat on March 20th, and they know it's going to only grow larger next year. Next year, we had 5,000. Next year, we want maybe 15,000, maybe 20,000, okay? That's what we should aim for. So it was a great success. It was Al-Auda-led. We had many people with us who joined us, and we want to continue that. And finally, I want to end with the Right of Return Rally, which is the 68th commemoration of the NAKBA. Okay, this is NAKBA 68. So I know that the International Action Center has also been involved in that. And we welcome you tomorrow to come to our rally. It's going to be over the Brooklyn Bridge. We would love to have you there. And this is the thing. This is very important because we need to never forget the NAKBA. The NAKBA means the catastrophe. Okay? So we should never forget the Palestinian NAKBA. And we should call it what it is. We should call it the NAKBA. Okay, so people understand what it is and explain to them. We all know what the Holocaust means, right? Rightfully so. And we should know what the NAKBA means because that was also a catastrophe. All right? So we're looking forward to you guys participating with us tomorrow. I'm so glad. I'm really honored to be back here at the International Action Center. And I'm honored to be in New York because I am from New York. All right? I'm a Yankees fan too, so... All right, so thank you very much. And from the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was effective in the campuses, we're saying, or just in...
significance of
Okay, overall, okay. BDS is very important. As a Palestinian, I think BDS should be natural. It is a moral thing. It is something that obviously if there's Israeli products, you should boycott. Morally, that's just coming from a Palestinian. Has it been very effective? Absolutely. The BDS campaign was a Palestinian-led initiative, as some of you know. So it is Palestinian-led, and I'm proud of that. And Al-Awda is also one of the over 170 signatories on the BDS movement. So we are also founders of the BDS movement. So yes, it is. It has been very effective. Actually, every day I think we learn more on the significance of BDS. In the beginning, although, like I said, Al-Awda was part of building it, I wasn't very enthusiastic about it, only because, like, you know, some of us just like, you know what, well, they control everything. So we're going to boycott this, boycott that, boycott that. But I think it's been more concentrated lately. Like, for instance, when you have somebody that wants to go sing over there. I don't know all the singers. I'm not like very good with remembering celebrity names. But we've had people that supported us. I think Roger Waters comes to mind. Yes. Okay, he's a very, very strong supporter of BDS. As a matter of fact, I was accused by Roseanne Barr. Do you guys know her? On Twitter, she said that I was friends with him. Never met the guy in my life. She accused me of being friends with him. Like, that's a bad thing. I never met him. You know, I could have lied, right, and said, yeah, he's my homeboy, but I never met him. You know what I mean? But I think it is significant. I think it is hurting them. It is hurting their image, and it is obviously hurting their pocket. There is an anti-BDS movement going on, if you want to call it that. They're trying to criminalize the boycott, divestment, sanctions. Okay, Ohio, my state, is one of them. I think New York, is New York one of them? Yes. So they're trying to actually criminalize BDS. They're criminalizing freedom, the freedom of speech, right? The freedom to boycott. The freedom is, if I don't want to buy your product, is becoming criminal if we don't stop it. So that goes to show you that yes, it is effective. I think the vision is limited. I think that BDS is not a liberation vision, if you will, you know, but everything leads to that. I think every little piece that we pick up leads to freedom and leads to liberation. So we cannot kind of neglect it or kind of just brush it away as something that's not powerful. It is powerful. If they're crying about it, if they're trying to criminalize it, you damn well know it is powerful. So I've become a believer. So in the BDS. So I think, sure, it is very, very effective. Any other questions?
What is BDS?
Boycott, divestment, sanctions against Israel. That's what it means. So for short, if you go to hashtag BDS, whether on Facebook or Twitter, you learn all about it. Everything is in the hashtag. I think it's a beast. It's something that was created, Palestinian-led, which I'm very proud of. You know, if we use it solely, will it liberate Palestine? Absolutely not. You know, that is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. So I'm giving you kind of two tokens of the subject. I'm not by any means, you know, looking down on it. Right. And like I said, it took me a while. Because, you know, as Palestinians, we get frustrated, right? We hear this and we hear that, and what's effective, what's not effective. You know, some people give up on certain strategies. So it took me a while, but I think just because they're screaming about it, you know, I like to throw it in their face now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I tell them BDS is the least that you have to worry about. So any other questions? Reference? Yes, sir.
There was a question about how is APAC received?
Oh, yes. And I'll end with that if you guys want. I think APAC was well received. We've had numerous articles written on it that I've seen that they were crying about. Some of them were saying that they couldn't go out to lunch. They were trapped inside. They were, you know what I mean? Which I think part of it might have been true, partly, but I think it was over-exaggerated, just like a lot of things they do, because there were some of them talking to us outside, and they were actually discussing with people, and we had pictures of them. We're like, oh, poor babies, you were outside talking, you know what I mean? So we kind of threw that in their face. But yes, I must admit there were some points where they were literally trapped inside. And it's not because of us necessarily, it was because the police told them, don't come outside. There's thousands of people out here. I don't think they've ever seen that. You know, usually there's 200 or 300 people. I think Sarah touched on it. And I'm going to be a little blunt here. And I think because there was some gatekeeping involved over the years, I'm Palestinian, so I'm going to be straight up. I think there's some gatekeepers amongst us. And this is why things regarding Palestine should be Palestinian-led. Now, thank you so much. But for AIPAC, I kind of have a mixed feeling because I think Americans, when I say Americans, I just mean like non-Palestinians, which obviously we are Americans too that live here. But what I mean is it hasn't been effective with some other people. There's a little gatekeeping kind of going on over the years. And when we took that over, we had more interest. We revived interest. I've never seen the number. My usual complaint about rallies is I don't see enough Palestinians. I see more white people, I see more black people at our local rallies than Palestinians. You know, we have that complaint a lot, believe it or not. Locally, sometimes we get, you know, on a very cold day, Cleveland weather is harsh in the winter, okay? So on a very, very cold day, we get like 20 people, if we're lucky sometimes, at a rally, right? We've all been to some of those rallies, and it's unfortunate. And out of the 20, you have 17 white people and 3 black people, you know? And I'm the only Palestinian, if you want to count me in, so that's 21, you know? But this rally had Palestinians. It had Palestinians, it had Lebanese, it had people from all over. So I think that's something good. The people really do trust it when it's more Palestinian-led. So we're not, you know, we don't want to give this mixed feeling that you're not part of the movement. You are. But what we're saying is be our echo. You know, be our echo. Give the Palestinian narrative. Speak all you want. Get up, start a movement, do whatever you want. But give our genuine narrative. That's all we ask. Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Thank you so much.